I'm going to read a little bit of this thing called My Twisted World that Elliot Rodger wrote prior to this tragedy, because I want to give people an idea of what was running through this kid's head before he did this. On Halloween weekend, I made the wise decision to go home to my mother's house. There was no way I was going to torture myself by staying alone in my room while the entire town of Isla Vista erupted in a raucous debauchery. All of the tall, hunky jocks that girls love so much would be having all of the sex and all of the fun, while an unwanted outcast like myself would rot in loneliness. I imagine that some attractive guys who only visited Isla Vista for the weekend would be getting laid that weekend. They'd be getting sex from just one night in Isla Vista, while I'm still a virgin after living there for over a year. It was too unfair. I wanted to punish them all. I imagined how sweet it would be to slaughter all of those evil, slutty bitches who rejected me, along with the fraternity jocks they throw themselves at. To see them all running in fear as I kill them left and right. That would be the ultimate retribution. Only then would I have all the power. They treated me like an insignificant little mouse, but on the day of retribution, I would be a god to them. They will be the mice, and I will be the predator. I considered setting the date for the day of retribution to be the next Halloween of 2013. That would give me a year to prepare, but I soon dismissed it. If the day of retribution were to happen, it would have to be on a normal weekend. There would be too many cops walking around during an event like Halloween, and cops are the only ones who could hinder my plans. I spent the time at my mother's house relaxing and trying to forget about Halloween. I drank some of my mother's delicious wine until I was too buzzed to think about how much fun everyone else my age was having on that night. I didn't even bother to register for college classes that semester. There was no point. I believed that I would either fulfill my dream of becoming wealthy at a young age in order to be worthy enough to attract beautiful women, or exact my revenge upon the world and die in the process to escape punishment. There was no other path for me. Of course, I registered, in quotes, for some classes, but only to keep up the pretense to my parents that I was still attending college. If they somehow found out that I had dropped my classes right after registering from them, then they would have stopped all of their support for me, and my life would have begun to end right then and there. Thankfully, I was a good liar. During the autumn of 2012, I had spent all the time in the world to figure out how I was going to triumph against the society that was torturing me. I spent a lot of time at the library in Goleta, just a few miles away from Isla Vista. I'm guessing this isn't in the United States, just so you know. At the library, I read countless books on history, business, and philosophy, learning as much as I could. It was better than staying at home in my room. Besides, I didn't want my housemates to find out that I wasn't going to college. That would be embarrassing, and I always cared about what others thought about me, even my nerdy housemates. I continued to visit the website of the Mega Millions lottery, and I still clung to the hope that it may rise above 100 million again so that I would be a winner. So far, I saw this as my only way out of my horrible situation. My situation was indeed horrible. I couldn't leave the house without seeing a young couple walking around somewhere. Everywhere I went, I was all by myself. While other young people had friends and girlfriends, I was ashamed to show myself to the world, even though I wore expensive designer clothes. What was the point if girls still weren't attracted to me? No one respects a man who is unable to get a woman. A man wearing shorts and a t-shirt would be seen as superior to me if he walks into a store with a beautiful girl on his arm and I walk in all alone. A man having a beautiful girl by his side shows the world that he's worth something, because obviously that beautiful girl sees some sort of worth in him. If a man is all alone, people get the impression that girls are repulsed by him, and therefore he is a worthless loser. I saw winning the lottery as the only way out, and I became so frustrated when the Mega Millions jackpot kept resetting. In the end of November, the jackpot was very close to getting high enough, but then it sank to the bottom once again. It was at this point I learned about the Powerball lottery, and the Powerball hadn't even yet come out in California, so I knew nothing about it before. Okay, so this is in California. I looked at the website and saw that the jackpot was over $500 million. California didn't even have a Powerball lottery, so in order to buy a ticket, I would have to drive all the way to Arizona. Earlier in the day, as I drove through Isla Vista, I saw this one particular young couple that stood out from the rest only because the girl looked absolutely perfect. She was tall, blonde, and sexy. She would have towered over me in height, and her boyfriend, of course, towered over her. They were both wearing beach gear, and the girl was in her bikini showing off to everyone her sensual, erection-causing body. Her blonde hair was wet from swimming in the ocean, and it only made her look more arousing. The two of them were holding hands, and it was clear that they were in love. I saw the boyfriend place his hand on the girlfriend's ass, and when he did this, the girl looked at him and smiled with delight. That guy was in heaven. I can only imagine about how amazing it must have been to have sex with a girl like that. I had to witness everything I wanted, but could not have it. It made me feel dizzy with anguish. I immediately thought about that couple and how impossible it was for me to have the same experience as that guy. Impossible as I was at that point. But it would be... This kid's writing, by the way, is very incoherent, so I'm sorry I'm stumbling over words. But it would be possible for me to get a tall, blonde, sexy girlfriend if I was a multi-millionaire. Oh yes, it would be very popular. Becoming a multi-millionaire is the only way I could have such an experience, and winning the lottery was the only way I could become a multi-millionaire at my age. As I stared at the Powerball jackpot that was over $500 million, I knew I had to win it. And then he goes on about how he drove down to Arizona to get a Powerball ticket. But I think that gives you a bit of an insight as to what kind of mind this kid had. It's simplistic. Wealth does not guarantee you a beautiful woman. There are plenty of wealthy guys out there who have women that are ugly pigs who suck their money dry. You know, this kid's outlook on life is so simple. He feels that only material possessions get you what you want in life, and they're the only thing that matters. And love is this fuzzy, unclear concept that's just something that's completely romanticized. He only cares about sex throughout this entire thing, about wealth, stuff he already has. Minus the sex, he already has wealth. He already has a lot of prestige just being from a successful family like the one he's from. You know, I don't understand people like this. I don't. I don't understand how everything is not enough. They get stuck in the trappings of a wealthy life, and I had a taste of that when I was young. Fortunately, I am the poor kid in a rich family, and the reason I say fortunately is that I learned how to be responsible for myself. I've had a foot in both worlds, but I took the more responsible path, because it's bullshit to have people give you everything in life. You should appreciate what you have, not just want more and more and more and more, and then wonder why, once you become the king covetous of the world, why people don't want to be around you. And eventually this whole thing just degrades, and you can, as you read it, as it gets closer to the end, he just becomes more and more delusional and distanced from reality. It's bizarre. But I wanted to read this to you guys because I wanted people to understand what kind of mindset this kid had. What kind of mind would just randomly decide, I can't get laid, I'm going to go take a gun, drive around, and kill random people. Well, this is the kind of mind that thinks about doing stuff like that to people who didn't do anything to them. No one owed you a damn thing, kid, aside the right to be treated as another human being. And you owed them the same right, and you didn't even bother to consider that they were human beings. The way you talk about people in this thing is just is disgusting. You know, they're just like shells of meat that have feelings every now and then, but they don't deserve to because they don't bend over and kiss your ass. Because they're not, I guess, paying tribute to you because in your mind everyone owed you everything. Jesus. I'm glad this prick is dead. My God. I mean, Jesus Christ.